Mismagius Mischief, Chapter 4, Part 14. So imagine her surprise when all three of her sisters abruptly transformed into fish Pokemon. Lily was suddenly a large and vaguely humanoid relicanth, flopping on the floor while her mouth gaped open and stupidly, and her eyes stared vacantly at the world. Violet was a big and ugly Remoraid, writhing out of her clothes and trying to clamp onto something to protect her with her oversized jaws so that she wouldn't have to fend for herself. And Daisy was a wriggling, slimy barboach with long and unfeminine whiskers. 6 disgusting blobs also lay on the floor, and it took Misty a moment to realize that they were her sister's silicone implants, apparently rejected from their bodies due to their abrupt high-sign transformation. Certainly there was no room in those fishy bodies for oversized breasts. Misty stared at them incredulously, her jaw dropping. What the? No way! She abruptly started laughing. So you freaked, right? About time! Huh? Her body started feeling very strange. What's happening? It was at that point that her skin peeled off and her hair fell off, and she started screaming. La 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 la. Flesh and fragments of skin flaked and shredded off her body, falling to the floor like large bits of dandruff and leaving hard, ugly tan scales with random brown spots in their place. Her hair abruptly fell out, leaving her completely bald, as a trapezoidal blue dorsal fin abruptly sprouted from her back, tearing open her shirt. Her hands and feet turned blue and fanned out, becoming more like fins as well, and ripping open her shoes. However, they were ragged, tattered fins, and so almost useless, unlike what was left of her clothing. She gasped in pain as heel slits cut into her waist, causing her to scream in agony as her internal organs violently shifted about so that her lungs were now of a different shape and position, drawing air from her abdomen rather than her mouth. Her nose and teeth shriveled into nothing, along with her breasts, and her eyes recessed into their sockets, becoming larger and plainer and losing their lovely blue hue. Her mouth widened and her lips swelled up. All in all, she had transformed into a rather unattractive Feebas Pokemon. And for any of you out there who know what Pokemon is, and anyone behind there, does anyone here ever seen Pokemon? Yes. Good. What does a Feebas look like? What does it looks like him. A very unattractive brown fish.
What?
That's a Feebas.
Unhinged and a very attractive young male.
Yeah, right, McKenna. I'm not sure what attractiveness is. No idea.
Who do you think looks better, Joel or Hamish?
Equal. I can't really tell. Yeah, don't punch me, please. Anyway, could you please continually... Oh, wait, you need to read... Oh, thanks. She started screaming while her sisters laughed on the floor. At least she thought they were laughing. They might have been gasping. She couldn't really tell. And in the moment, she didn't really care what with having abruptly transformed into an absolutely hideous creature. I don't understand. What did I do to deserve this? Is this what I get for wishing bad things on other people? If so, I'm sorry. She started weeping big, fishy tears. However, Misty had forgotten something very important. Namely, what Feebas evolved into, as she was soon about to discover firsthand when her body started glowing with a radiant white light. Huh? What's happening now? Her sisters gawked. Well, it's not like they could do anything else anyway. Because, well, they turned into fish Pokemon. Of course they couldn't gawk. Misty's evolution was swift and the changes almost immediate. Her rough tan and brown scales shed off and were replaced by sleek, smooth, yellow skin covering her upper body and sparkling blue and pink scales on her lower. A long tail, also covered in sparkling blue and pink scales, grew from her rear, ending in 4 large overlapping scales at the tip spread out to look like a fan. Her feet were now fins that looked similar. Her tattered blue thin hands were replaced by immaculate, almost frictionless yellow fingers that tapered into mildly sharp points. Her bust grew back, much to her relief, and became a bit larger, around the size of her sisters when they were human, if not larger, and was all the better for being completely natural. A pointed crest grew from the top of her head as her hair grew back, now a little pinker and much more softer and luxuriant than ever before, draping from the sides of her head in two fin-like masses almost reaching to her knees. Her eyes grew smaller and popped back out into her face as they regained their blue iris, a blue much more vivid and jewel-like than ever before. Long, thin, arcing antennae spread out from her eyebrows and arced over her head to form a vaguely heart-like shape. Her lower face grew out slightly in the form of a petite snout and muzzle, giving her a vaguely snake-like mouth. She was breathtakingly beautiful, and a calming aura was exuded by her statuesque form. "I'm to go now," she said to her sisters, a sort of farewell. "There's somewhere I need to be." She left the room.
Stop it, we get it. Okay, anyway.
Gyarados slithered into the kitchen a few minutes later and ate the 3 large fish flopping around helplessly on the floor, very nearly gagged. They were much bitterer than he expected. Changing scene! We now go to Jessie's little nightmare, from Team Rocket. Yeah, she gets a nightmare. Hooray for the Queen Phantasmagoria thingy. Hello, Georgia. Okay, Joel's going for a stroll for no apparent reason.
I'm going for a stroll.
No idea why.
Cause yeah. Nice.
Moog. Anyway. Jessie was absolutely miserable. Joel was absolutely miserable. Jessie was absolutely miserable. It had seemed at first that she was on top of the world. She was free of Team Rocket and had finally lost those idiot hangers-on James and Meow and become a wealthy and famous superstar and supermodel, appearing in the best fashion shows, movies, and television specials worldwide. She had legions of fans around the world, almost limitless money, flawless beauty, and dozens of suitors falling over her and obeying her every whim wish. Her life had been absolutely perfect. And then it happened. The accident. She'd been testing a new blue beauty lotion on her skin, but found out too late that she was terribly allergic to the ingredients and had an unbelievably violent reaction to it. Her entire genetic structure had mutated in response to a toxic substance. And now she was hideous. Absolutely, completely, and totally ugly. Her skin had peeled off only to be replaced with thick, ugly, dark, purple and black scales and spines. Her legs had whipped away and melded together to create long and twisted tails bristling with angular scales and spines and horn. Her fingers had fused together, leaving her with 3 awkward, bulky claws per hand, each digit ending in a long, thick, serrated nail. Her beautiful hair had fallen out completely, leaving her totally bald as her head was covered in ugly, dark scales with horns and spikes starting everywhere and gruesomely disfiguring her features. And now, it hadn't helped when her nose had bulged down to a reptilian snout and fangs had sprouted from her jaws, filling her mouth and making it harder to talk. It didn't help her tongue had elongated, flattened out, and become forked at the end. Her eyes had become slitted in an ugly shade of yellow. And worst of all, her chest had become completely flat. A beautiful chest! Not my words, the author's words. Anyway, that is DaCosta. Yes. Oh, good. This is Jack DaCosta. He's currently sitting in Joel's seat. Sam Baston, who I call Cloth nowadays because just today he wore a giant Cloth camouflage suit at the War Museum we went to, which for some reason was connected to a paintball ground. Anyway, no, everything has been taked. And anyway, most people don't actually watch my videos, so yeah.
Yeah, enjoy the video.
No, I
Just put your head up, look.
That's Georgia. Anyway. We only have about some seconds left. Please don't do that.
Please.
She lost everything. Nobody wanted a hideous snake-like creature whose very touch was almost lethally poisonous around.
Yellow.
All her contracts were torn up, her shows and appearances cancelled, her sponsorships subtracted, her money withheld, and her friends and views disappeared. And now she was out on the streets, living in abject poverty and filth, shunned by all. She's even worse off now than she had been working when she was a child, or working for Team Rocket. Even if Pokemon left her, Wobbuffet and Duckstocks ended up getting their own wildly popular shows, a talk show and a sitcom respectively, save her a survivor, possibly because he no doubt thought that she was beautiful now, she was a disgusting serpentine creature like him. Well, she thought suddenly at least someone he does. At least you'll never leave me, she hissed to Survivor somewhat deliriously. The poisonous snake sitting next to her fidgeted nervously. About that, a very familiar Arbok wearing a white tuxedo and carrying a bouquet appeared at the entrance to the alley they were slumming in. Hello, lover, the Arbok called to Survivor. Ready for our big day? Jesse's jaw dropped. Oh god, we are slightly late, so we'll just sort of stop here and hopefully, oh never mind, I have 15 minutes anyway. Jesse's jaw dropped. What? Your old Arbok and I have fallen in love and we're going to run off and get married, Survivor said hurriedly. I didn't know how to tell you, sorry. You mean you're abandoning me? Jesse shrieked, Survivor, how could you? Well, to be honest, we talked about letting you move in with us, Survivor said, but the landlord for this place says says no pets are allowed, especially disgustingly ugly poisonous ones like you. The neighbors would complain. And we were lucky enough as is to find a palace willing to lease to our gay Pokemon couple. That doesn't make sense. Arbok said apologetically. So we didn't really want to push it. Sorry, Jesse. Don't worry. I'm sure some homeless shelter somewhere will let you in, Survivor said reassuring. And if not, there's always the zoo. The zoo? Jesse screamed. Survivor nodded. Yes, always looking for new and exotic Pokemon. Actually, said Arbok sheepishly, I kinda already sold her to the zoo. In advance. It was the only way to get enough money to afford the rent on the place we're getting, and to find a priest willing to marry us. Sorry. You never mentioned that, said an alarmed Survivor. It just came up. Sorry, Arbok apologized. You sold me to the zoo! Jesse repeated, infuriated. Yeah, but don't worry, you'll be famous again, Arbok reassured her. People will come by to see you every day, and you get free square meals a day and a warm place to spend the winter. It's way better than the deal you have now. I suppose that's true, Survivor admitted. Well, alright then. You're going to let him get away with this? Jesse demanded. I'm in love with him, Survivor told her. What else can I do but forgive him? The zoo people are on their way here, Arbok said. And we have to get going right now, or we'll never make it to the church in time. Oh well, in that case, let's get a move on, Survivor said, shaking out his coil so he could get up. Goodbye, Jesse. I promise we'll come and visit you at the zoo every weekend. And we'll bring pictures so you can see how our wedding went, Arbok cried. So long! No! Wait! Come back! Jesse screamed, struggling to unravel herself as the two snakes slipped away. Don't leave me! They left her. A moment later, some people from the zoo showed up, netted her, stuffed her into a van, and drove off. She really wasn't having a good day. That should be enough for now, since we are about 3 minutes off. Thank you very much. Morning.